going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 318, part number 1 for your Friday, March 20th, 2020. And when things are just surrounded by uncertainty and things are being canceled and postponed and shut down completely, there lies Off the Script. I ain't going anywhere, man. In fact, I honestly think there's more work now than there would be during a regular week, which I'm very grateful for. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. Normally, I say Friday show, and we go over what I like to call a week in review for WWE. We'll talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw when I really don't want to because the show sucks. We'll talk a little bit about NXT, which I love, but they haven't been the NXT that I used to love and know. We'll talk a little bit about AEW, which right now is the one company that has the most momentum going for it out of everybody. They're absolutely on fire. On fire. Good for them. And then we'll talk about SmackDown, which, better I don't say anything. The less I say, the better. Bruce. Clown. Week in review. It's what I usually say Friday show for. Gonna do things a little bit differently. I'm going to take Friday show normally, and I'm going to move it to Saturday. So we'll go over the week in review tomorrow. I got so many stories. I got so much news on WrestleMania right now. Where WWE could potentially take WrestleMania. Will WrestleMania happen? WrestleMania is now being hosted over 2 nights by Rob Gronkowski, which we'll find out more tonight, which in itself does not make me want to watch SmackDown at all. Just throwing that out there right now. WrestleMania is now 2 nights on Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. I got news and rumors, internal workings in the company, why Vince McMahon moved WrestleMania to the Performance Center, why he didn't opt to postpone the event. Sasha Banks breaks character, releases a heartfelt statement on WrestleMania and how she promises that the company is going to put on a show that the fans are going to love. Booker T came out on his podcast and said the show should be canceled. Edge has come out and said that it's very important WWE puts on WrestleMania. And then WrestleVotes reports the majority of the roster wishes the show was postponed. I am in that camp. I am in the camp with the majority of the WWE roster. I got so much news on WrestleMania. We're going to cover it all on Off the Script today. I also got news on WWE rescheduling shows for Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden has been brought up in the rumors about being the home for WrestleMania this year, which is something I mentioned on my Monday Night Raw review. And we got news on the Hall of Fame as well. Why WWE could be moving the Hall of Fame to SummerSlam weekend, which is a very good move. Second biggest show of the year, why not? And then this little gem, which I hope they figured out by the time we watch SmackDown tonight. People within the company feel like empty arena matches just don't work. Yet you're holding a WrestleMania show over 2 nights in an empty fucking arena. I am in the majority, or I'm in the camp of the majority that want the show postponed. If you watched AEW this week, you know how to operate the weekly shows, Vince, Bruce, Paul. Don't be clowns. So much news. I'm glad you guys are with me here on episode 318 of OTS. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow me on both. Just for the sake of it. Twitter is where I usually am, but Instagram is cool as well. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos that I uploaded this week. We got Monday Night Raw. We talk about WrestleMania being moved to the PC and all the news that broke on Monday. Right then and there, my initial thoughts on the show being moved to the PC. That was on Monday. AEW Dynamite Review, where we seen the Exalted One revealed. Brody Lee is the Exalted One, a.k.a. Luke Harper is the Exalted One. Matt Hardy is once again broken and given freedom of creativity in All Elite Wrestling, which he will now call All Delete Wrestling. And there was no NXT show. And I actually live streamed as well this week some Call of Duty. And then the big one, Resident Evil 3. They're remaking another game. It's crazy, man. I'm a big gamer. I love me some video games. It's something that, along with wrestling, has never left me. I'm 38 years old. I'm a 38-year-old goon. Still playing video games, but who doesn't play video games? It's a great recreational activity, right? People have made video games and turned it into their job. It is a way for people to make money. It's great. Video games are awesome. Video games are very sought after, especially in times like this as well. And the funny thing is, the two games that I'm looking forward to most this year, I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The two games I'm looking forward to most this year are Final Fantasy VII Remake, best game of all time, and then Resident Evil 3. That's also a remake. And then the other game I'm looking forward to most is The Last of Us 2. And now it's something of a very, very strange coincidence that Resident Evil 3 and The Last of Us 2 are stories and games built around the downfall of humanity and an outbreak that just devastated humanity, right? You guys know what Resident Evil is about and the zombie apocalypse and all that stuff in Raccoon City, and then you got The Last of Us, which is pretty much the same thing. It's funny how everything's going on in the real world, and these two games are coming out in the midst of what we are currently going through in real life. It's crazy. But now that I deviated away from the point I wanted to make, the two games I'm looking forward to most are remakes of older games. They're not even new games. They're just reimaginings of old games that I used to love back in the day. So if you guys want to go check that out, Resident Evil 3 is on the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. People love when I do the scary horror games and the zombie games and the jump scares and all that stuff. So if you guys are into that stuff, go and check it out. Patreon is a great way to support the show. As always, link is down below. You guys get OTS early. Thank you to all my new patrons. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And, of course, man, the most important, last but certainly not least, hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. We are dangerously close. We are Paul E. dangerously close. See what I did there? Yeah. I'm hopped up on coffee. You got to excuse me. Dangerously close to 116,000 subscribers, man. So go and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell and make sure you are notified. Today's podcast is brought to you by my good friends over at The Ridge. Ridge.com/script. 10% off. Use code SCRIPT. You get 10% off anything on their website. They are very good friends of OTS, and I want to thank them for showing their support all spring long right here on OTS. Let's get right into the news, guys. Going to start off with the big rumor that began as soon as WrestleMania was announced in the PC. The big rumor that I talked about. I think a lot of people talked about it because it didn't really make any sense why this wouldn't be in the news. WrestleMania was moved to the PC. I asked why. That is an absolutely awful idea. I don't give a fuck who you are. It is a terrible idea to have WrestleMania inside the Performance Center. It's not even a viable option for me. If I'm Vince McMahon, it's not a viable option. I'm going to go over why. WWE moved WrestleMania to the PC, but news immediately after that news first broke came out that WWE was working on a WrestleMania backup plan, and we're going to move the show into Madison Square Garden. Huge rumor has come up in the last couple of days on the location of WrestleMania 36. Now, take it for what it's worth. I don't know who this person is. I don't know who's running this account. But there's an account on Twitter by the name of Fight Oracle. And this account has been correct, supposedly, on several big wrestling stories in the past. including spoiler news on the Royal Rumble winners, Edge being cleared to return, CM Punk's talks with Fox Sports to be on WWE Backstage, and Anthem being in talks to buy Access TV. Now he is reporting that WWE's plan is to actually move WrestleMania into Madison Square Garden to hold the event on June 7th, 2020. He states that the reason for this is that WWE's insurance policy says that they have a duty to mitigate damages. Finding a new venue, the Performance Center, would satisfy that requirement. That's why they moved it into the PC, and now hopefully they are working on a backup plan to move the event and give it a setting and a home that WrestleMania deserves. I loved when WrestleMania emanated from Madison Square Garden. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite matches, two of my favorite matches of all time, emanated inside Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 10 to be exact. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, and then Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in the second. I could be wrong. Second or third, but I do think it's second. Ladder match in WWF history. The first one being Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart, which was not televised, but this was the biggest ladder match that WWE had up until that point. Now, the belief is that the city of Orlando will shut down, and the PC will be shut down, and WrestleMania will not air, which Dave Meltzer has been vehemently spreading all over the Observer this week. They will shut down the event from the PC, and that would show that WWE tried their best to move that event to mitigate the damages, and then they could get paid by their insurer. At that point, they can move the show to June 7 at Madison Square Garden. This would also make MSG's management, the announcement of WrestleMania would make MSG's management happy because they are losing out on a WWE live event in that venue on March 22nd due to the outbreak. Now, that event inside Madison Square Garden was rescheduled. I got it right here to follow up with this story. That is now rescheduled for June 27th. So the event obviously is not taking place on March 22nd due to what's going on in the world today. And that is now scheduled for June 27th. So that's that. So this scenario makes sense, as it seems to be a logical move to move the show to a later date at a large venue instead of the PC with no fans. Clearly. Duh, right? The insurance rumor came up on Sunday's Wrestling Observer Live when Brian Alvarez discussed why Vince McMahon was so hesitant to cancel the show at Raymond James Stadium. I don't know for sure, says Alvarez. I can't tell you 100%. Alvarez said this, but I've heard from more and more people very close to WWE who are telling me that the reason this thing has not been canceled or postponed is an insurance reason. The city needs to prevent WrestleMania from happening for WWE to collect on an insurance policy. That is the information that I've been given from several people. I don't know if that is true or not, but these people are close to WWE, and that is what they are saying. End quote. Also, June 7 was the date that was rumored among some people in WWE over the weekend. If this is indeed the plan, WWE still has a big hurdle to jump through. June 7 may be too early if there are still restrictions in place on mass gatherings. They could move the show to July or early August, but then it would be very close to SummerSlam. At this point, nothing is guaranteed, but it looks like MSG may end up at the end of the day. Not today, but you know what I mean, figure of speech. At the end of all this nonsense, this confusion, WrestleMania may end up in Madison Square Garden when all is said and done. Now, I mentioned this on Monday Night Raw when I did the podcast on Monday night. I said, why wouldn't WWE think about moving it to Madison Square Garden? Now, I don't know who this Fight Oracle is. He may be somebody that works for the company. I don't know. I don't really care. But I'm glad that me and a couple of other people in the community mentioned, how difficult would it be to move the show to Madison Square Garden? Now, I don't know who WWE has as far as their insurance goes or what the insurance situation pertains. I don't know. I don't have any information on any of that. I can only make very, very minimalistic, thoughts and opinions on it. I can't really say much on the matter because I just don't know. It's none of our business. It does make me think that if WWE is out all this money, Vince is losing somewhere between $15 and $25 million in revenue for WrestleMania for the WWE. Makes you think how important that Saudi Arabia deal is. Looking back at this, it makes me wonder if anybody's going to rip WWE on the Saudi Arabian deal as we get further and further and further into the relations with WWE and the government of Saudi Arabia. Without that deal, WWE might not even fucking be here. WWE might not even be in the position that they're in right now as far as revenue. They've made more money in the history of the company in this past quarter than they've ever had, ever. It's crazy. It's crazy to think where they would be without Prince Salman in Saudi Arabia. Now, I said on Monday, how difficult would it be for WWE to move WrestleMania into Madison Square Garden? Why would they want to move it to the PC? Now we got the answer. They needed a home. They needed the show to still be in the cards for them to get their insurance money. Madison Square Garden, I'm sure, would love to have WrestleMania. I think it is a better option for WWE as long as they get their money. As far as insurance goes, it's clearly the best of the situation. It's the best option in the situation that they're in. Now, I got this pulled up here. A lot of people might be asking, why June? Why not July? Why not May? June. I would rather them postpone it till June than run an empty fucking performance center. Because we all know how these shows have been complete garbage on Monday and Friday. You want to see 2 nights of an empty fucking arena with WrestleMania? I don't. Now, I'm grateful for work, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for 2 reviews and tons of views and revenue. Believe me. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I want to enjoy somewhat, even though WrestleMania tends to be the worst show that they put on all year. I want to enjoy somewhat what I'm watching. I don't want to watch 2 nights of men and women performing in front of nobody. We don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. WrestleMania doesn't deserve it. Now, WWE has released most of their pay-per-view calendar. Obviously, what has happened already has happened. We have WrestleMania obviously taking place on April 5th, and now with the announcement that it's going to be 2 nights, April 4th and April 5th. No NXT TakeOver Tampa, that is being moved or rescheduled at a later date, which it won't be Tampa, I'm sure. Maybe it will be. Who the fuck knows? Money in the Bank is taking place in Baltimore, Maryland on May 10th. In June, WWE has no pay-per-view event. None. July 19th is Extreme Rules. August 22nd, supposedly, is TakeOver Boston. August 23rd is SummerSlam. September and October do not have events, which means, hopefully, they will rid us of Hell in a Cell after the fucking debacle last year. September is usually Night of Champions or Clash of the Champions or something like that. November, obviously, TakeOver War Games, and then Survivor Series, and then December, to be announced. I like the to be announced in October and December, which hopefully means that WWE, like I said, is going to get rid of the gimmick pay-per-views. I wish we could have a Halloween Havoc. I really do. But that's another story for a different day. I've been on that record over and over and over and over again. I don't need to repeat myself. Now, if WWE wants to move WrestleMania to June, they could certainly do that. As long as, Fight Oracle reported, they have a home and they bunkered down and got WrestleMania in a place, an arena, a fucking building. As long as WrestleMania is in a building somewhere, then they could be on point to getting their insurance money. The show's still going to go on, right? They have some type of business insurance where Vince McMahon waited the length of time that he did to force Tampa to pretty much come to him and say, well, the government is asking to close up shop. The government's asking to seize and stop all these events. That's where Vince McMahon is in right now. That's the position he's in right now. If June was not open the way that it is right now, then maybe a postponement could not be an option for WWE. But it certainly seems to be a situation where they could postpone WrestleMania and have it take place in June and salvage whatever they can. Again, I'm sure WrestleMania and Madison Square Garden would be a match made in heaven. I'm sure Madison Square Garden and the officials over there and the management over there would love to have WrestleMania. Now, it's not 90,000 people that Vince was expecting from Raymond James Stadium. It's not all the merchandise sales and all the money that was going to be coming into the WWE as far as a regularly planned WrestleMania weekend. But this is the best option for everybody involved. It's the best option for Vince. It's the best option, especially if he could get his insurance money and then, obviously take some losses, but have WrestleMania go off inside an actual building with fucking life, with fans, merchandise sales, ticket sales, this and that. If you set that up now and announce that WrestleMania, or whenever we are able to get back to regular life with what's going on, they announce it in advance, that's going to sell out in 5-10 minutes. WrestleMania will be sold out. Obviously, you'll be losing money, but it won't be inside the Performance Center in front of no fans, with no merchandise sales, with nothing. And you're going to lose every bit of that 15 to 25 million that you would have made from WrestleMania as far as sheer revenue goes. So June is open. June is open. Now, if June was not open, then WWE would have no choice but to hold it inside the Performance Center, because if they had a pay-per-view in June, then they would only be circling right back to where they are now with WrestleMania. That venue would already be booked. That building would already be in the boat with WWE as far as holding this event. Vince can't cancel the event because he's already paid for the fucking building. And the event is going on as scheduled. It's got a date. It's got a name. It's all set up. So if WWE had an event in June and we were looking at a possible postponement, there would be no way for WWE to postpone it. There would be no way for WWE to hold it in July. There would be no way for WWE to hold it in August. Then it would be, the later you get into the summer, the closer it's going to be to SummerSlam. And you can't have WrestleMania and SummerSlam back-to-back months. June is open. June is the logical choice here. June is the logical choice. Now, that is my opinion there. I mentioned this on Monday. Madison Square Garden is the right choice as far as WrestleMania goes. The real reason Vince McMahon decided to hold WrestleMania at the Performance Center is what we talked about from Fight Oracle, but there are others in the community talking about it as well. According to Dave Meltzer on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE higher-ups, including Vince McMahon, wanted Mania to take place with no fans on April 5th as they were unsure when they could put on a proper show next. June is wide open. I just told you guys that. I asked, why would you do this? You've got all these fans who will come. Maybe you won't have 60,000 people. Maybe you'll have 40,000 in a couple of months. Maybe people won't be able to afford it because they'll be out of work. I was told that Vince McMahon could not confidently say at any time that they could do this, and it was kind of like, to me, what if there's no shows until November? What do you do? He wanted to get this out of the way, so it's going to be a totally different WrestleMania. I don't like that. I really don't like that. WWE, Vince only gives a shit about himself. Vince only gives a shit about himself. There's a report that I'm going to talk about in a little bit where the majority of the fans, or the majority of the roster, I should say, are against having WrestleMania in an empty arena. They're against having the show at the PC. Now, for whatever reason, it's their reason. I agree with them. I agree with them. Because of how this situation is with what's going on right now with the outbreak, there is no word how long this situation is going to last for. There's no word on if there will even be a WrestleMania. Perhaps it does make sense to hold WrestleMania 36 with no plans on April 5th. The decision did not go down well with fans online. Many people believe that holding the biggest show of the year with the biggest wrestling stars with no fans is a mistake. The general consensus is that postponing the show would have been the best option. It would appear it isn't only wrestling fans that are unhappy about the decision, as a report has emerged suggesting some of the WWE roster are far from pleased with how things have panned out. Sportskeeda is reporting that the news came as a surprise to many of the WWE locker room, and the decision hasn't been well received by a few members of the roster. They say, and I quote, according to backstage sources, the news that WrestleMania would be taking place on site in an empty arena was a bolt out of the blue. There was apparently a lot of frenzied discussions, disagreements, and unrest backstage after the news initially broke. Certain superstars are said to be upset at the decision. Of course they're upset at the decision. Of course they're upset at this decision. Vince is going to do whatever he has to do to recoup whatever money he has put into WrestleMania. That's why he's holding WrestleMania. The roster does not want to have WrestleMania happen the way it is being promoted, and they would rather wait for something better to happen. Say Madison Square Garden. Now, the reason why they might not be happy is, A, they don't want to perform in front of fans. They don't want to perform in front of no fans. B, some of those people do realize, some of those people in the locker room do realize that we might not be on the WrestleMania card when regular plans had been scheduled for us to be on the WrestleMania card. Because there's no way that WWE is going to have a full-blown, full-fledged WrestleMania card from the Performance Center for 8 fucking hours. It's not going to happen. So they know that. And those people in the locker room where they should have been on WrestleMania more than likely would have been on WrestleMania via a match of some sort, or whether it's an inclusion in the Battle Royal, you're not going to be a part of WrestleMania now. And then the third option is they're not going to get that WrestleMania payday. They're not going to get that merchandise paycheck. It's going to be in front of no fans. There's no ticket sales to pay the talent. There's no merchandise sales for said superstar to get some extra bonus money. There's no pay-per-view bonus for you because you're not on the fucking show. Of course they don't want WrestleMania to be in front of the empty Performance Center on April 5th. They want an actual show, not only for the fans' sake, but more importantly, their paychecks. Vince wants WrestleMania because he cares about the money that he is owed. The roster and the fans want WrestleMania to be held because it's WrestleMania inside a full venue. The roster wants WrestleMania to be held in a full venue because they want WrestleMania to be WrestleMania. So everything that has been originally planned goes to plan, including their paycheck. It's not that difficult to figure out, folks. It's not that difficult to figure out. A report has now emerged claiming that perhaps WWE has only relocated its show to the PC to ensure that they can claim their insurance policy. The report states that WWE is of the belief that Tampa Bay officials will now allow the no fans show. Even if this report isn't true, there is no word on if the show will go ahead as planned in just under 3 weeks, and there is a chance that the show anyway will end up being canceled even in Orlando. Dave Meltzer mentioned this about the status of WrestleMania, adding that if a member of the roster or even a Florida-based celebrity was to test positive for the outbreak, WrestleMania is done. You know, there may not even be a WrestleMania on April 5th. You know, they announced that, but one guy on that roster getting it, or one major celebrity getting it in the Florida-Orlando area, or an outbreak in Florida is to happen, WrestleMania is not happening. It's been reported that WWE is screening all talent before they enter the Performance Center for tapings of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, so it's clear that the company officials are doing their best to ensure none of the talent becomes infected by the disease. Madison Square Garden, folks. Madison Square Garden, to me, is the best option. If Vince is getting his insurance money back, Vince should have Madison Square Garden be the home of WrestleMania. I don't really know or understand why it would be that difficult of a decision. And Vince, what is Vince going to do? If Vince cannot do it, if Vince is going to have a situation where he cannot do it, obviously he's going to have to do it. But if the option is to postpone, what do you honestly think Vince McMahon's going to do? You think Vince McMahon is going to abide by what the fans want? You think Vince is going to abide by what the fans want and what the fans want to see as far as WrestleMania goes? Vince doesn't give a shit about us. Vince doesn't give a shit if there are no people in the fans or no people in the arena at the PC. Vince is going to do whatever he has to do to make his shareholders happy. That's what he's going to do. He don't give a fuck about the complaints about WrestleMania being held in a venue with no fans. He couldn't give a shit. Vince cares about the people who are investing money in his company on Wall Street. And if there is any confusion or any concern coming from the Wall Street group, the people who are investing in this company about WrestleMania, and, it's a decision on whether they invest or pull out, Vince is going to do whatever he can to keep those people happy. Vince is going to hold WrestleMania the way he wants to hold WrestleMania because he don't give a shit about us. He doesn't give a shit about us. The fans want WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden or a larger venue. The roster clearly wants it for the reasons that I just stated. What does Vince want? Vince just wants WrestleMania to happen to save his ass. The roster, he don't give a fuck. The fans, he clearly doesn't give a fuck. How much money is Vince McMahon going to lose on WrestleMania this year? Now, as a result of the pandemic that is spreading across the world, WWE was forced into canceling almost every single WrestleMania 36 week event, aside from the show itself, which will take place over 2 nights now from the PC in an empty arena. As a result of this, WWE will, of course, be losing out on a fair bit of money. There will be no fans attending access. Tickets will need to be refunded. Merchandise will go unsold. But how much exactly is Vince McMahon set out to just take a hit on? According to WrestleNomics and their Twitter account, it's around $22 million. $15 million of that would have been from ticket sales. $4 million of that would have been from that week's shows, including Raw, SmackDown, and NXT TakeOver. And $3 million of that would have estimated merchandise sales. Thankfully for Vince, the Saudis pay so much money. Like I mentioned before, where would Vince McMahon be without the Saudis' money as he holds 2 shows per year over there? So losing that $22 million might not be that bad when you're looking at the fact that WWE is probably making around $50 to $60 million per show from the Saudis. So imagine, like I said, without the Super Showdowns and the Crown Jewels and all the events that take place in Saudi Arabia, where would WWE be today? Especially with this situation happening. Thankfully for Vince, they are paying to have the WWE product in their country. It will be very interesting to see what type of tactics are employed by WWE to try and get some more money in, because with fans unable to attend these shows for who knows how long, income flow will begin to slow down significantly for the company. So that's how much money Vince McMahon is set to lose on WrestleMania this year. Now, I don't know if WWE is moving into Madison Square Garden per se, how much money they will make as far as that goes. I think fans will want to come see Madison Square Garden's WrestleMania. Why wouldn't they? I would even be tempted. But as far as Vince McMahon's insurance money goes, I don't know what is detailed in the insurance. I don't know who he is insured by or what the basis of his insurance policy is. But if it is one in which he could look back and use previous years as a foundation on what he was on point with making this year and present that to his insurance company, I wonder if he's going to recoup the 100% of all of that back, because it's not really his fault if the government has been issuing close downs and shutdowns and cancellations on their end. Vince has nothing to do with that. Vince has nothing to do with that, so he's not in that camp of, being guilty here. He's innocent in all of this, and if the insurance policy is where it should be, he should recoup all of that. And like I said, based off of everything that he's did with WrestleMania in the years prior. 22, 23, 24, $25 million, that's a large chunk of change. That's a large chunk of change, especially if everything that's happening in that city, was to make him that much money. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to think about it. People within the WWE feel like empty arena matches just don't work. I could have told you that on night one, on Friday. It was crazy to me on Friday, man. It really was. How people were like, wow, this is different. Wow, this is fresh. What's fresh? What's fresh? I see Michael Cole and Triple H on commentary, and Triple H was having a blast. He was having the time of his life out there with Michael Cole. Seen Sasha Banks and Bayley in a match with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. They were playing up to the crowd, and there was no crowd there. There was even a report where people were getting on WWE, and I know I get on WWE a lot, that all four women stopped wrestling during the commercial break because there was a foreign feed for the show that didn't show commercials, and they just showed the in-between, what happens in the commercials, and all four women stopped, and then obviously they got their 15 to 20 second cues when they were coming back from commercial, and then they resumed wrestling again. Referee, I think, was tightening the ropes or fixing the ropes. They were going over what spots they were going to do next. People were jumping all over WWE for this situation, and I'm asking myself, why? Why are people jumping all over WWE for something so minuscule? They're wrestling in front of nobody. Nobody is there to see them. You were not meant to see that. Now, with the day and age of social media, everybody's seen it on social media. Everybody in the community's seen it. I'm sitting here asking myself, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? What do you need? What do you need in that situation to continue wrestling through the commercial if nobody in attendance is there to fucking see it? Take a breather. Take a little bit of a break before you get right back into it. Don't risk injury. Maybe someone gets injured during the commercial break. Who knows what might happen? People jumped all over WWE for them stopping wrestling in the middle of the commercial break. Now, I didn't know that as we went into Friday. I didn't know that. Or as I did the review about SmackDown. I didn't know that. But I found out after the fact, after I had uploaded, I'm like, what is the big deal here? It's not that big of a deal to me. But I immediately said the empty arenas are not going to work. This is not going to work. I mentioned how I've frequently visited the House of Glory school, and I've been in the school several times when the trainers have been teaching and the talent has been practicing in the ring, doing scrimmages and going over stuff for upcoming shows and whatnot. And everybody there, they were having mock matches in the ring. They were having, whether they're tryout matches, whether they're just like, little matches between the students that go on there to help them get better and to just go over things that they need to learn. No matter who's in the ring, there were always a group of people cheering on, bringing life to the situation, giving the performers in the ring the energy that they need. So when they're in front of a live audience, they'll know what it feels like. Not to the grand feel that a packed NYC arena would be at 2,000 people, but the energy that a small group of 20 to 30 people, men and women, could emit for two people in the ring is more than enough. Clearly. We've seen it on Wednesday with Dynamite. Dynamite was executed brilliantly. It was perfect. Some people were on record saying that it could have been the best show that Dynamite has ever produced if it was in front of a live, full audience in Rochester, New York. Now, obviously, it wasn't. But AEW went about this the same way that I thought going into Friday's show before we even had a glimpse or an idea of what an empty arena show would look like. I knew it wasn't going to work. I had an open mind because typically when WWE has their backs against the wall, they end up producing a great show. Friday was anything but a great show. It was awful. And then Monday was far worse than what they did on Friday. They knew what they had to do on Monday coming out of Friday, and they still refused to do it. Everything about the way WWE has produced these two shows. And then on Wednesday, they didn't even have an NXT show to combat AEW. They had highlights and sit-down interviews with Triple H and Tom Phillips. Who the fuck cares? Who cares? You don't think empty arena matches will work. That's great. They won't work under the ways you do them, but they obviously work the way AEW did it. They had more than 50 people in that fucking venue on Wednesday night. So what's the issue with WWE not following the same format that AEW does? They just refuse to do it. They rolled over and died on Friday and Monday, and then again on Wednesday. Oh, it's WrestleMania season. We don't need to produce anything. It's WrestleMania season. People are going to be excited about WrestleMania regardless. This is where you're wrong. You couldn't be fucking any farther from where you need to be. Absolute bullshit. WWE has failed, not only themselves. They've not only embarrassed themselves, but they've embarrassed their fan base and have failed in front of their fan base. Why was it so difficult for WWE to put PC talent, trainees, fucking people who work backstage, and have them sit the way AEW had their roster sit? One side heels, one side babyface. It's not that big of a deal. The life, the energy of the PC talent watching someone like an Andrade or a Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, who's idolized and looked up to by everybody. How do you think it would have felt if they were in that position and were asked to uplift the feel of the show? Instead, WWE wanted to make a situation that is bad worse. They wanted to give you an apocalyptic feel, like the world was coming to an end. They wanted to make you more depressed, even though Triple H came out and said, we're here to put smiles on people's faces. He tried. Everybody else did not. WWE did not. Vince did not. They rolled over and died. They showed a rerun of the Elimination Chamber from the men's tag team match on SmackDown, and then they showed the entire men's 2020 Royal Rumble match with commercial. The match ended up being 1 hour and 5 minutes. With commercials, it ended up being 1 hour and 45 minutes plus. Had like 17 commercial breaks in that motherfucker. That's WWE being creative during WrestleMania season. That's WWE just making a shit situation better. That's them approaching a dire situation and making the best of it. And then on top of that, this is the cherry on top of the cake, and it's just a trickle-down effect, folks. WWE goes about saying nothing about what's going on in the world. You know, they go about not mentioning what's going on, and they use the term, I guess, preliminary circumstances or some shit like that they used. They had Tom Phillips come out and say some bullshit on Monday Night Raw. They go about it in such a forced way that it comes off so disingenuous. They did not come off genuine whatsoever. The fucking fans are 50% of the reason why these shows are good or bad. If you have a great show and you have a shit crowd or a shit stadium full of fans and they're not making any noise and they're sitting on their hands and they're not chanting and singing along and doing what a pro wrestling crowd in 2020 should be doing, then the show is going to go from great to okay. The worst of the worst shows could be a good show if the crowd is actually energetic and lively and bringing life to that fucking venue and wrestling show. I can't even begin to tell you how the crowd makes or breaks a wrestling show. And then I seen Disco Inferno go out there. Disco Inferno. Remember him? Yeah, I don't either. He goes, I think he's working on Vince Russo's podcast, or he's on Vince Russo's podcast network. He said, how much better did these shows look without fans? Mentioning the AEW fan base. The AEW fan base makes the shows exactly what they are. The AEW fan base is half of the fucking reason why the shows are so great in the first place. There's nothing like an AEW fan base. There's nothing like an AEW crowd. This is a guy who has been shit on all his career, and then he takes it out on the fucking fan base and throws it back in our face. How much better did these shows look with Dynamite without the fucking fans doing what they do? That is a blithering fucking idiot. That is a fucking irrelevant scumbag in the world of professional wrestling that never got over, that had absolutely a shit career for himself, that was respected by nobody, and now he's on a platform to throw it back in the fans' face. Now, he uses this situation where everybody wants to physically be there, wants to be a part of Matt Hardy's debut, wants to be a part of Brody Lee's debut with the Dark Order, and they can't be there, and he takes this opportunity when the fans are at their lowest because they wanted to be there and can't, to shit on them. That's a scumbag, folks. That's a scumbag. AEW did it right, though. They are for the fans. They knew that these shows were not going to work in an empty arena. Just look at the energy that was there. Look at the announce team. On Monday night and Friday night, I heard Triple H and Michael Cole commenting over echoes of the men and women slamming themselves in the ring. On Dynamite, I heard MJF speaking Spanish while the Lucha Brothers were in the ring. I had MJF and Shawn Spears gambling on matches. Shawn Spears was drinking a beer and eating takeout food. Tully Blanchard was there betting money. Wardlow was there writing all the notes down for MJF. Jake Roberts and Lance Archer were sitting there enjoying themselves. It's crazy. And you got the baby faces on the other side yelling at the heels from the other side. This was a great situation that AEW put themselves in. I don't know how much more I could tell you or what else I need to rant on. It's ridiculous how they thought going into that it was going to work. And they like I said, they rolled over and died. Now, Dave Meltzer is reporting that WWE felt as soon as SmackDown was over, working a match without the crowd didn't really work. No shit! Because you refuse to get creative. Now when you see SmackDown have an audience on Friday, where do you think they got it from? Where do you think they got the idea from? Because they're so behind the fucking curve. Now, did AEW have a couple of days to look at WWE, to look at them and see what they did and kind of rectify their mistakes? Yes. But then I'm not going to sit here and say AEW didn't already have it in the back of their minds that they were going to do that. Whatever WWE did was WWE's fault. AEW already had it in their mind that they were going to have their roster out there to give that show energy. I would never say AEW didn't have that idea already before WWE announced they were going to have no fans in the venue. Soon as they had the announcement made that Dynamite was going to be held in front of a closed audience, no audience at all, only personnel there, it was a situation where I knew they were going to do the right thing. They just were confirmed. Their original thought was confirmed by watching WWE fail at it. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to go doing what we need to do to make these shows great. They felt from the SmackDown show that the empty arena match stuff just doesn't work. No shit. That's why WWE had nothing planned for Monday. This could certainly prove to be a big issue for WWE come WrestleMania in just over 2 weeks. Now you want to know why people are very concerned about WrestleMania taking place in front of an empty fucking arena. WWE confirmed that the show will take place without a live audience at the Performance Center. The show currently has 7 matches advertised. Some have speculated that WWE could have some of the Performance Center recruits act like a very small crowd for WrestleMania. While this is possible, it would go against the recommendations made by the CDC. Clearly it won't! Because Dynamite did it! Do what AEW did. It's not that difficult. For what it's worth, I really feel right now that WWE needs to do what Dynamite did. The company is being forced into putting on shows with no fans. Yes, the WWE is putting on shows and having their performers go out there to entertain us in the midst of all of this, yes. But that does not give them the right to go into this very lackadaisical and not caring. With everything that's going on with the outbreak situation, it's not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon. We could see this happen on WWE TV shows for a long while. So they better get with the fucking program. They're going to have live wrestling matches, then they need to take the proper procedures and give us live wrestling matches in the best possible situation. Enough of the laziness, especially during WrestleMania season. WrestleMania 36 is going to be a 2-night event hosted by Rob Gronkowski. Great. I'm so excited, said nobody ever. I wasn't even ready for 1 night. Now I got to watch 2 nights. WWE has announced that WrestleMania 36 will now be a 2-night event and will be hosted by Rob Gronk. WWE released the following statement. WrestleMania 36 is now set for a historic 2-night presentation on the WWE Network. Former New England Patriot Rob Gronkowski hosting the show of shows at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. The 2020 edition of the Showcase of the Immortals will make history as the first to span across multiple days. It's funny how we all talked about WrestleMania potentially being a 2-night thing, and now we're getting it 2 nights, but under the worst possible circumstances. Earlier this week, it was announced WrestleMania 36 would emanate from the Performance Center in Orlando, and only essential personnel will be on the closed set during production. Titles and legacies are on the line as WrestleMania 36 features a loaded slate of matches. Royal Rumble winner Drew McIntyre challenges WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Universal Champion Bill Goldberg defends his title against Roman Reigns. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch looks to fight off the rise of Shayna Baszler. Also, 16-time World Champion John Cena returns to battle the Fiend Bray Wyatt. And AJ Styles hopes to put the final nail in the coffin of The Undertaker's career, and much more. They did not mention Edge or Randy Orton, by the way, because that has not been officially announced. That has not been confirmed, even though we all know it's headed in that direction, because Edge on Monday challenged Randy Orton to a Falls Count Anywhere match. And Randy Orton, I'm assuming, is going to accept the match stipulation on Monday. Now, Gronk revealed the new format and his role as host on his Twitter earlier in the week. The 3-time Super Bowl champion also promised more details when he appears on SmackDown this Friday on Fox at 8 p.m. Gronk took to Twitter to announce the news. It's official. I'm hosting WrestleMania this year. It's going to be too big for just 1 night. For the first time, WrestleMania will be a 2-night event. Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th on the WWE Network. I will tell you more this Friday on SmackDown, 8 p.m. on Fox. That's what he said on his official Twitter account. Now, while the show won't have an audience similar to Raw and SmackDown this past week, the good news is we shouldn't have to sit through replays of matches that we've already seen. So WrestleMania is going to be a 2-night event, and then immediately the news broke about that, and to follow, WrestleMania, according to sources, will be held in multiple locations on April 5th. Now, with it being a 2-night event, night 1 will be on Saturday. The original night, April 5th, will be the second night. Gronk will be hosting. Meltzer, on the Wrestling Observer Live, said this. He was on Wrestling Observer talking about this, but he took to Twitter to answer a fan. which is something I wanted to throw into the story. WrestleMania will be from multiple locations, says Dave Meltzer, not just the PC. More info later. Now, there is no location as far as I read this or how this will work. I guess we'll have to wait until Gronk talks about it on Friday night. And that could make it easier on the talent to travel to the event. Also, in response to another tweet, Dave Meltzer commented this could also allow for WWE to pre-tape matches for the event and then show them as live matches, which I don't want. Because the way WWE goes about that is when they tape something, you know it is taped. I don't give a fuck if it's in front of fans or no fans. You just know that it is taped. I don't want to watch a WrestleMania event that is not live. A, in front of no fans, and then B, you're going to give me a WrestleMania event in front of no fans and have it be taped? Why are you even bothering at that point? So in response to this fan said this to Dave Meltzer. This would seem to open the door widely to pre-tape matches being shown as live. Yes? Tape as many as you can in empty studios, in secret, and splice together as a show. Dave Meltzer said, if need be, yes. Now, Dave Meltzer actually further elaborated on this on Wrestling Observer Live on Thursday. Part of the issue, from what I understand, most of the stuff will be at the Performance Center, but there will be gimmick matches shot in other places. That is the idea. So the issue is, you don't want more than 50 people in the building. And according to the CDC rules, if WrestleMania is having the matches that have already been announced, and then commentators, and then the crew that needs to be there filming, and Vince and his team, it's going to be more than 50 people, right? So they figure that to do 2 nights, they're still abiding by the CDC rules, and we as fans, we're getting a 2-night WrestleMania event. Great. So that was Meltzer's opinion on this. Can't have more than 50 people in the building. I think that's probably why they went to the 2 nights. So they wouldn't have so many people in the building at the same time. I'm guessing also that you're going to do a lot shorter shows 2 nights because a long show is not going to work in the PC. I already said it on Twitter the day that this information came out. PC, WrestleMania, April 5th, that was when it was one show. One of the very first things I said was, WrestleMania cannot be 8 hours. I don't give a fuck how long it is. Cannot be 8 hours. You want to go 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours, 4.5, fine, 4.5 hours. Top it out at 4.5 hours. You're not going 8 hours in an empty arena on April 5th from 7 to fucking 1 o'clock in the morning. Give me a break. I don't think people would be able to make it through the show with an empty arena. People can't even make it to the fucking show with 90,000 fucking people there. You're going to have me watch a wrestling show with no energy? For 8 hours? Give me a break, man. So it's just not going to work under one show. 2 shows, 2 nights. That's why they did it, according to Meltzer. The location stuff will allow you to not maximize past the 50 number because guys in other matches will be in different locations. You can get more producers in. That's what he said. The situation is still obviously in a state of uncertainty. There are still those who think the show will be shut down regardless of WWE's plans. We only know what has been reported at this time. If more details obviously come out, you will hear about them right here on Off the Script. Can't really go against anything Dave Meltzer said. That's the most logical of logical situations. So WWE, it seems like they're running from the PC. It seems like they're doing everything they can to have the PC be the home of WrestleMania this year, even though a lot of people do not want it to happen in the PC. Vince couldn't give a shit. He's going to do whatever he's got to do for the stockholders at this time. If June is open, like I mentioned, there should be no excuse why he couldn't try and get his insurance money back and then move the show into a Madison Square Garden when you got June open on the pay-per-view calendar. And I'm sure I'm very confident things will be back to the way they should be in June. And there's no reason why Madison Square Garden would not just welcome WWE with open arms for WrestleMania. There's no reason. Seems like it's the best option as far as that goes, but everything we're hearing is PC, 2 nights. They even have a match card listed for 2 nights. It's crazy. So that is the latest on that. Now, there's an update to these plans. Meltzer, again, either went into more detail as far as Wrestling Observer goes, with WrestleMania being held at multiple locations besides the Performance Center. There's no word yet on what the other locations will be. What is known is that all the locations will be closed sets with no crowds. It was noted by this is the company that knows these shows are not going to operate the way that they should with no fans. It was noted by Meltzer that the majority of the matches will air from the PC, such as the top programs thus far announced. Should be noted that up until this point, WWE has only confirmed 7 matches, with another being officially announced next week with Edge versus Randy Orton. 8 matches. WWE had plans to do 16 matches at WrestleMania 36 at one point. Whether the plan is to have that many matches still remains to be seen. It was later reported that this show would be held at multiple locations, although the exact places were not revealed. WWE has not confirmed which matches will air on which night. However, fans have picked up on the fact that WWE's official website has been updated. This is where it lists the matches for Saturday and Sunday. Somebody made a boo-boo, it looks like. Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that while WWE is doing their best to sell the event, it's not a sure thing. Here is the quote. "We cannot guarantee anything. You know, WWE is trying to sell you that there will be a WrestleMania, and there's a goddamn good chance that there won't be on any of those dates. Needless to say, things have changed every day of the last week. With just over 2 weeks until the show, there is still plenty of time for all of WWE's plans to change again." Orton versus Edge in a last man standing match. I said false count anywhere before last man standing, whatever. Is not listed because WWE will likely officially announce it on Monday's Raw. It should be made clear that this has yet to be announced, as the official lineup and more matches will likely be added to both nights, which could also cause an impact on the following lineup. This is what will happen on night 1. WWE title match, Saturday night, Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre, NXT Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. That's 4 matches on one night. Then you got night 2. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler for the Women's Championship, Goldberg versus Roman Reigns obviously is for the WWE Universal Championship, and then John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, and I'm assuming Edge versus Randy Orton would be on night 2. It's funny, I joke around that Roman Reigns and Goldberg, I joked around with a few people, actually. This is easy. WWE's moving WrestleMania to 2 nights so that they could get Roman Reigns in the last match on the last night to close out WrestleMania, because there are a lot of people who want Drew McIntyre to get his moment no matter the situation and be the last image you see at WrestleMania, beating Brock Lesnar and becoming a WWE champion for the first time. That's what everybody would expect to have happen. He won the fucking Royal Rumble, which should mean that you main event WrestleMania. WWE, who knows if that's going to be the main event of even night 1? They could easily put Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair in the main event of WrestleMania on night 1 because it's only night 1. It's not the last night. They could do that. And Brock Lesnar likes to go in and come out and go home. You know how Brock Lesnar operates. Drew McIntyre could ultimately win the WWE Championship in an empty arena on the first night of a night 1 WrestleMania. How shit is that? How awful is that? I feel for a guy like Drew McIntyre. I feel for a guy like Edge, to be perfectly honest with you. He comes back after 9 years and has got to wrestle his first match in 9 years after being told he would never wrestle again in front of an empty fucking arena. That is awful. WWE's Roman Reigns effect or Roman Reigns agenda is obviously very prevalent here at WrestleMania, even though we are dealing with dire circumstances. They found a way to get Roman in the main event. Let's make it 2 nights of WrestleMania. And Roman could be the last image that we see with him beating Goldberg for the Universal Championship. Now, I mentioned, this is all you need. 4 matches, 2 nights. I'm fine with that because I barely want to watch one fucking match in front of no fans. You got to give me 8? I'll deal with 8. I'll deal with the 2 nights. It's something that we could do and have fun with on the channel. But if you're going to start adding matches and fucking everything else that has been in the works, U.S. title, women's title for SmackDown, women's tag team titles, Mandy Rose and Otis and that situation with Dolph Ziggler, right? The Battle Royals. How many matches do you realistically need on a WrestleMania in front of no fucking fans? You've announced what you've announced. You've built what you've built. Then keep it at that. We don't need any more. You haven't done anything as far as the TV shows to show us what else is going on as far as storylines and building towards that on WrestleMania night. So what's the fucking point? Keep it minimalized. This is it. We don't need to see anything else on the show. If the show is really taking place at the Performance Center, this is it. I don't want to see another fucking match added to this show. That's it. Now, if the show gets moved to Madison Square Garden, then you could make it 8 hours. Have your fucking 8 hours and just have a blast. Get everybody on the show. Get all those people who are probably thinking I'm not going to be on WrestleMania this year after I had originally been planned to be on WrestleMania. Get them in the Battle Royal. Have your Battle Royals. Have your women's tag team match for the titles. Have your United States Championship match with all the fucking Latinos. It's fine. It's fine. Load up that show to your heart's desire. It's fine. The way it is right now, this is all you need for an empty arena show. It's not going to work otherwise. You're going to look completely fucking ridiculous with an empty arena show and then 16 matches on the show. Honestly, ask yourself, what else is important? These matches don't even feel important. You're going to add more matches that nobody gives a fuck about at WrestleMania? Now, the majority of the talent want WrestleMania to be postponed. This was a report WrestleVotes confirmed what Fight Oracle had stated. WrestleVotes says this. This is as of Thursday. Spoke with a source who states, and this is a direct quote, a majority of the talent are still hoping that Mania gets postponed. Take that as you will. The show is currently supposed to take place over 2 days and broadcast from multiple locations. This being done in effort to have WWE not have over 50 people in the building at any point. However, despite their efforts, it may be taken out of their hands. The majority of the talent want WrestleMania postponed for the reasons I just mentioned to you folks. Let me reiterate it again. A, they stand with the fans. They don't want to perform on the biggest wrestling show in the world all year in front of no fans. How it looks to them, how they feel in that situation, and you know all of them are fans at heart. So no matter how many times they want to blast the fans on social media, I think they're in the fans' hearts here. And vice versa. They don't want the fans to be left out of WrestleMania because the fans make or break the show. Number 2, the talent that's not on the show. They know every year WWE gets people on the show for the sake of getting people on the show. Every single man and woman on that roster is in WrestleMania. This is WWE's motto. Quantity over quality every single year. What do you think those people are feeling? What do you think an Alexa Bliss and a Nikki Cross and an Asuka and a Kairi Sane and a Nia Jax and Otis and Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode and Baron Corbin and Elias and Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura, Daniel Bryan, so on and so forth. What do you think that Sheamus is another one? Rusev, Bobby Lashley. What do you think they think? Man, we at least could have some part in WrestleMania, but now we're not even going to be on the card? Now we're not even going to be on the card. You know? And then option 3, the third reason, is they don't want to have WrestleMania have no fans, because what do you think that does for their bottom line? Now, Vince might not give a shit about their bottom line. Vince only gives a shit about the people who are investing in the company on Wall Street. He needs to keep those people happy before he keeps any of the roster happy. This is a known fact. Why don't the roster in WWE want WrestleMania to go on as scheduled on April 5th? Why would they rather it be postponed? Because without any fans in attendance, everybody that's performing on that show, there's no fans in attendance. Everybody performing on that show. How much do you realistically, ideally think they're going to make? No matter what they say on social media. They're going to make it seem like it's the most exciting thing in the fucking world to have ever happened in WWE. And I'll read you some of the fucking tweets because they're downright nauseating. But honestly, what do you think they're discussing internally in the locker room behind closed doors? They don't want this show to go on because it's going to hurt their bottom line. With no fans in attendance, that means their bottom line is going to be next to nothing. They're not going to make anywhere near what they should be making for a WrestleMania payday. 90,000 people compared to 0 people. What do you think they're realistically going to make? All the merchandise that every single person on that roster has sold during WrestleMania. Live in that venue. Live in that venue. What do you think they're going to be making as far as merchandise sales goes? 0. There's not going to be any merchandise to sell because who the fuck are you going to sell the merchandise to? WWE Access getting canceled. All the money that WWE makes as far as ticket sales go for that. You know the roster gets a part of that too. The signings that you pay to go $350 to go see Seth Rollins, you don't think he gets a cut of that? I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. The bigger you are, the longer lines you get, the more money you make, the more cut you get from the overall intake of revenue made for that contract signing. Not contract, that autograph signing. They're getting fucked. They are getting fucked left and right. That's why they don't want the show to take place. Vince couldn't give a shit. As long as he gets his insurance money back, he wants the show to go off because he's got shareholders and investors to keep happy. Everybody else is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth down the line. The investors and the WWE stock and the shareholders on Wall Street are on Vince's priority list. Everything else takes a backseat. Now, the fans, you might not be thinking about that. The fans, you might not be thinking about John Cena's payday or Bray Wyatt's payday or Shayna Baszler's payday or Rhea Ripley's payday, right? Or Drew McIntyre's payday, winning the WWE Championship. But the fans want WrestleMania to happen in front of a live audience because it's WrestleMania. WrestleMania has not felt like WrestleMania in many, many years. WWE tries to sell you on WrestleMania. They try to boast about WrestleMania, right? But it's all just hype. WrestleMania is hype. I mentioned this. I seen a clip of me doing, I believe it was WrestleMania 32. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, it was WrestleMania 34, I believe. WrestleMania 34. And I said, just imagine you're a Ghostbuster. And imagine you're Egon and a part of the Ghostbusters team. You know? WrestleMania, right? The WWE are like the Ghostbusters. They wrangle you in and they get you. As soon as they get you on that WrestleMania hype, they got you. Oh, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. You can't go a lifetime without attending a WrestleMania. You got to go see The Undertaker's entrance live at a WrestleMania. You got to sit there for the 8 hours to experience the grand feel of WrestleMania. No, I don't. Because I know I don't want to be wrangled with my fucking proton beam. I don't want to be wrangled in by WWE. I don't want to be wrangled and put into the fucking ghost box by WWE. I want a WrestleMania that not only feels like WrestleMania as far as the pomp and the grandeur and the fucking just expectations as far as what it should look like aesthetically, but I want it to feel like WrestleMania as far as matches, the lineup, the build, the storylines, everything. If one of those things is off, it's not WrestleMania to me. I'm not saying WrestleMania has to be a fucking star-studded 5-star match up and down for 8 hours, but Jesus Christ, if you find one fucking match on this card that you are emotionally invested in, that you fucking care about, please fucking tell me. And you're not allowed to mention Edge and Randy Orton because that's the easy answer. Everybody's invested in Edge. Who the fuck wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? So outside of Edge and Randy Orton, which is an easy fucking win for everybody because everybody loves Edge. Edge was gone for 9 fucking years. The story has been fucking fantastic. It's the only WrestleMania thing that I feel this year. Outside of that, as far as the matches go on this card, what is WrestleMania to you? You know the one thing that stands out about this, as far as WrestleMania goes, every single match, mostly, includes a part-timer. Brock Lesnar, part-timer. Undertaker, part-timer. Goldberg, part-timer. John Cena, part-timer. Don't get me started on Charlotte Flair being another fucking championship match at WrestleMania. Ridiculous. Edge, part-timer, but he's excluded. But still, part-timer. Unreal, folks. Unreal. That is the feel I got as far as the majority of the talent not wanting WrestleMania to be inside the PC. They want it to be postponed. I know. I don't have to ask anybody. I don't need wrestle votes. I would just automatically assume that. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. This is not going to work. Now, we're going to get into the other matches that WWE has right now been building up that might not even take place. It's an easy situation to just hold those matches off and maybe do them when things get right back to normal. You know, we can do those matches and revisit those matches when the fans are allowed to come back into the venues and we get these shows to operate the way that they should. It's not that big of a deal to hold off on some of these matches, but WWE, they never do anything right. They really never do anything right. They always go into these types of situations doing the wrong thing. If they keep it at 8 matches, 4 on night 1 and 4 on night 2, I would be absolutely shocked. I would be absolutely shocked. There's no need to have 16 matches in the situation that they're in now. If they move it to MSG, make it 20. I don't give a fuck. Make it 20. But inside the PC, they need to do what is right. And what is right is keeping WrestleMania as minimal as possible. What you guys need to do, as far as doing the right thing, is go check out The Ridge. Ridge.com/scripts. Now, what is The Ridge? The Ridge is a flagship wallet that streamlines what you need to carry with you every single day as far as how you carry cash and cards. They also have charging commuter backpacks. They want to make you feel like you're bringing the most with you every single day. How long have I been using the Ridge wallet? I've been using the Ridge wallet for close to 2 years now. I take it with me everywhere I go. No matter where I go, no matter what I'm doing, the Ridge has been absolutely phenomenal for me, man. It doesn't bend, it doesn't scratch, it doesn't fold. It looks great, it's stylish, it's sleek. And the best thing I love about it is the fact that I know that my identity and my card info are protected with the RFID blocking qualities. The Ridge is so confident that you'll enjoy their product that they've made it as simple as possible. Free shipping so you guys can get it fast. Free returns in case you don't like it. And if you do like it, there's a lifetime guarantee. And there's 30,000 5-star reviews, so they have a lot to be confident about. The Ridge is super durable, made from military-grade materials like titanium and carbon fiber. It's proven to be bulletproof, waterproof, and yes, John Moxley proof. Ridge.com/script if you guys want 10% off any purchase on Ridge's website. Once again, that's Ridge.com/script. Use code SCRIPT at checkouts and thank them for supporting Off the Script. I want to go over these matches again. Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. Think about what that match will do. Or think about how that match will feel when there is no fans in attendance when Drew McIntyre wins the WWE Championship? Doesn't he deserve a huge WrestleMania moment? No matter if it's 90,000 or 16, 17,000 in Madison Square Garden. If that happens, I hope, just for a lot of these guys' sake, for our sake, right, as fans. Drew McIntyre winning the WWE Championship in front of an empty arena. That is a WrestleMania moment. As soon as that match was made, WrestleMania moment was written all over that. Where he came from, him being fired, him coming back and becoming the man and wrestler he is today, winning the Royal Rumble, beating Brock Lesnar, finally becoming the WWE Champion for the first time in his career. How well will that go off in front of 0 fans? Just that alone makes you wonder, why am I having WrestleMania in an empty arena? Why am I putting no effort into moving this to get the most out of everything that I can as far as this show, to make this show feel special? Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Don't really give a shit about it, but Rhea Ripley beating Charlotte Flair obviously is the right decision. How would that feel for Rhea Ripley to beat Charlotte Flair in front of 0 fans? Inside a performance center, which she has trained in for the last 3 years, that was molded in for the last 3 years. Why would she want to win at WrestleMania in the place in which she trained? She trained to move out of the performance center to be put in a WrestleMania situation in front of 90,000 people. To have that WrestleMania moment in front of 90,000 people by beating Charlotte Flair, who won the Women's Royal Rumble. How well will that come off in front of no fans? One has to wonder, why am I booking this show in front of 0 fans? AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. I don't really give a shit about the match, but having The Undertaker come down inside the Performance Center doing the whole spooky, eerie, dark lightning and all that shit, will they even be able to pull off The Undertaker's entrance inside the Performance Center? Will The Undertaker be forced to come out as Big Evil? Maybe, depending on how the storyline's going right now. He won't be able to come out as the dead man Undertaker and do the whole, usual thing he does. How well will that come off inside the Performance Center? Will it be WrestleMania-esque? I don't think so. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins? I think I'll be sleeping during this match. Next. Edge versus Randy Orton. Self-explanatory. Edge, 9 years, first match back in 9 years. You don't think he wants the feel and the energy of the crowd after 9 years? After being told he had to retire? What a missed opportunity that is, man. That guy woke up on the day he was cleared and never thought he'd be wrestling at WrestleMania in front of no fans for his first match back. A WrestleMania moment that should be the greatest of that man's career is just going to be a huge pimple. Huge pimple on his fucking nose, prom night. It's going to be a huge blemish on his fucking record. Looking back at it, yeah, it's going to be a story that he could tell his fucking kids growing up, but holy shit. Not really what I expected as far as wrestling my first match back in 9 years. One has to wonder, why are they booking this show in front of a 0 audience? Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. This is actually something that's going to work out in their favor because WWE, if they were in front of 17 or 90 or fucking 20 people, obviously, people would shit on the fact that Goldberg is the Universal Champion and B, Roman and Goldberg are in the main event of WrestleMania. So WWE is actually getting away with something here. They're getting something that they want. Roman will win the Universal Championship to absolutely no negative reaction. It couldn't have been scripted better for WWE. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler actually took to social media and did something so brilliant that I was going to talk about it tomorrow, but I might as well talk about it. Now. She said something in regards to her match as The Rock commented on her tweet. That's how great it was. She said, "My first WrestleMania moment will be perfect. No one in the arena to dampen the sound of tendons ripping and bones cracking and snapping as I become the Raw Women's Champion and usher in a new era. Hashtag reality. Hashtag crank, rip, tear. That is the mentality of a woman that is going with the flow. She's using the no arena or the no Raymond James Stadium and no fans in attendance to her advantage here as far as telling the story with Becky Lynch. So when she tweeted that, I'm like, that's actually something that I could see being actually very good. Same thing with Randy Orton and Edge. Edge's promo, the one he cut on Monday Night Raw, the one he drove 17 hours to do in front of no audience at the Performance Center, because his travel was pretty much impossible to get into the Performance Center and get into Orlando. His promo actually worked a lot better than I think it would have in front of a live audience, just because of the intensity and the realism behind it and how emotional it was. It actually worked better in front of the empty arena on Monday. The match itself with Edge and Randy Orton might actually work better with no one in attendance because of how real and how intense and how the storyline has probably progressed with, the real life situation and then Randy Orton attacking his wife. So it actually might work better as far as nobody in attendance for a last man standing match. So that might be one of those matches that is filmed somewhere else to kind of give it that real emotional and real personal feel. So it's not like this entire WrestleMania show is going to be a shit show. There are, not many, but there are some crumbs of positivity here. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler is the other one. I could absolutely see that being the feel behind Shayna Baszler getting the Kirifuda clutch on Becky Lynch. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. I can't see that match being any good in front of no fans. The main reason why John Cena and his matches are so entertaining is because of how the fans are just so divided on what John Cena does. And the emotional investment that we've had as a fan base in Bray Wyatt, and we know the history of Bray Wyatt and John Cena. There's not going to be anybody to play off that aspect. I don't see that match working at all with zero fans. You have to wonder why WWE's even going on and putting on this show in front of zero fans when basically 99% of this show is working against them in this environment. The other matches that's supposed to take place, you got Dolph Ziggler and Mandy Rose, obviously doing what they're doing with Heavy Machinery. A report emerged a few weeks ago stating that Otis and Dolph would be going one-on-one at WrestleMania. However, a new report from WrestleVotes has suggested that the plan for Mania was going to see Otis Tucker and Mandy Rose team to take on Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, and Sonya Deville in a six-man tag. Prior to all the changes, a mixed tag team match was scheduled for WrestleMania. Heavy Machinery and Mandy Rose versus Ziggler, Roode, and Sonya. No telling on if that one happens now, as comedy spots like that, I'm sure, would have happened, to go over very big in front of a packed audience. It won't go over well at all. It won't go over, period, in front of no crowd. So I would not book that match at WrestleMania. Whereas if WrestleMania was going on as it should, I would absolutely book that match at WrestleMania. Or if it's Otis and Dolph one-on-one, that one seems a lot better, this six-person tag. I would love to see that. Obviously, you'd have to break up Mandy and Sonya beforehand, but clearly WWE has not done anything as far as pushing other storylines on TV during this down period. They've gotten lazy and, like I said before, rolled over and died. Their shows have been absolute dog shit. No effort whatsoever, no creativity whatsoever. So why even bother doing the match based off what we've seen on the shows, which is nothing? And then why would you have such a unbelievable feel-good moments that 100% is going to rely on the fucking fan base happen in front of no fan base? You might as well just wait and hold off on it until we do it at another pay-per-view. If WrestleMania gets postponed, that happens in June in Madison Square Garden. Or if you want to save it for a regular SmackDown show where you'll have an actual live audience there to feed off of the fact that Otis is going to get one over on Dolph and get the girl. Because that's what it's been building towards. You would have wasted all of these weeks to get Otis over if you put the match on at WrestleMania in front of no audience. That would absolutely kill the entire storyline. Because we're waiting to see how people receive the end conclusion to this. And if there's an end conclusion and no emotion, why even bother? Now, Dave Meltzer has stated on the Wrestling Observer that another planned match on Monday Night Raw side may be scrapped as well. Meltzer speculated that Rey Mysterio versus Andrade may be a championship match at WrestleMania. But, as I said, it's not announced, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen, but you watched it. My first thought is that it could be, but not necessarily. There are a lot of things it could be. That's what Meltzer said, end quote. Could be Mysterio versus Andrade, where Mysterio wins the United States Championship. Could be a situation. But why do we want to see that match again after they showed it on Monday? How many times do we need to see it? We've seen it so many times already that anytime that it happens again one-on-one, we're not going to care about it. Now, it could be a fatal four-way. Could be Andrade, it could be Rey, it could be Humberto, it could be Angel Garza in a fatal four-way. Even that wouldn't make any sense because Humberto has lost every single United States Championship opportunity to a point where if he's put into another championship opportunity, especially with him not being featured on TV and getting a win to signify him getting another shot, what point does it make? How does it make any sense logically? It doesn't. So what do? They're in a tough pickle when it comes to that. I wouldn't even bother doing the match at WrestleMania. I wouldn't, because it's not important. It really isn't. The 8 that you got, I could see. Adding anything like Dolph and Mandy and Otis and whatever, heavy machinery and that 6-person tag, not going to work. This United States Championship match, not gonna work. We've seen Rey and Andrade too many times for us to care that it would happen again. Humberto being added doesn't make any sense. You want to do a triple threat with Angel Garza, but then people are gonna complain, what about Humberto? He's been part of the storyline. If you want to do Rey Mysterio versus Andrade for the title, put it on Rey and have Angel Garza beat Rey Mysterio and catapult Angel Garza to the United States Championship and make him your next guy. That's the only thing I could say. Don't want to see it. But if you want to do it, then you got to follow it up with the right decision after the fact. And that's Angel Garza beating Rey Mysterio. I would rather not see it at all. So Dave Meltzer says it could be, but it also couldn't be, you know? You might see it, but you might not see it. I would rather not see it. Especially if the show's going to 2 nights and you're going to do 4 matches each night. It just is a nice round situation there. Other matches that he talked about that were on the card and might not be happening, which, in my eyes, I would have X'd these matches out before WrestleMania was even a fucking preconceived notion. They had 16 matches lined up, says Meltzer. I don't know if they will do 16 matches at this point. I pray to fucking Jesus Christ Almighty that they don't. There may not even be a WrestleMania on April 5th. Like I mentioned before, they announced that one guy on the roster, if they announce one guy on the roster getting this virus, or one major celebrity getting into Florida, or anything like that in the area, it's not happening. Meltzer noted that the plan for the Women's Tag Team Championship was a 3-way with the Kabuki Warriors defending against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and Natalya and Beth Phoenix. However, on Raw, there was no indication of Phoenix and Natalya being added to the match. We only got Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, and them calling out the Kabuki Warriors, and then we got Asuka on commentary on Raw during the Mysterio versus Andrade match, where she was talking about Andrade and Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. I don't care. You look at the match, and it's not even WWE Raw worthy. You're talking about a Kabuki Warriors match against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for the women's tag team titles, which this plastic fucking cup is worth more than. This paper cup, I should say. Plastic. Paper cup. My coffee. The contents in this coffee cup right now are worth more than those fucking women's tag team titles. It's not even a WrestleMania match, so why are we talking about it taking place at WrestleMania? If you could limit my frustration on the fucking evening and not have to fucking fall asleep during this show that shouldn't even be taking place on April 4th and 5th, why would you even bother adding this match? It means nothing to anybody. Yes, Asuka and Kairi Sane deserve to be on WrestleMania, but the cards have fallen like they have. The cookie crumbled for both Kabuki Warriors. I'm sorry. Alexa Bliss has not done anything to even deserve a WrestleMania spot, so why put her on WrestleMania? Neither is Nikki Cross. The tag team champions? Yeah, they're the tag team champions, but what do they mean in the grand scheme of things? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It is best. It is actually making the WrestleMania card better, believe it or not, if you leave this match off the show. So, Meltzer says, the match was a three-way last week. We don't know now. Aside from the stuff that is already announced, everything else is up in the air, whether they'll have a match. There are many suggestions going around, but nothing is official. You would think it would be official at this stage of the game, and it's not. I know they had the complete card on February 17th, and now they don't. Obviously, the Battle Royals, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and the Women's Battle Royal were meant to get everybody on the card, which you guys know how I feel about that. You want people who don't want WrestleMania to happen at the PC and will rather it be postponed? There you go. Everybody that was going to be on the show and now is not on the show, getting a payday and not getting a cut of any of that merchandise sale. So those matches are clearly not happening, and rightfully so, because they shouldn't even be on the actual WrestleMania show. We all question every single year in front of 90,000 people, why are these catering battle royals happening? Doesn't need to happen. Keep them off the show. Absolutely irrelevant. How many times do I say, you don't need to get everybody on the show? If you haven't done anything all year, you shouldn't be on the show. Quality over quantity, folks. You don't need to put everybody on WrestleMania's card for the sake of getting everybody on WrestleMania's card. It looks ridiculous. It looks convoluted. It looks messy. It looks unorganized. You don't need it. It's the one positive that WWE has going for it, a WrestleMania card that actually has the set number of matches that all WrestleMania cards should have. 8 to 10. That's it. 4.5 hours, 5 hours long. Nowhere near 8.5 hours long. Then you got those who have come out and stated that WrestleMania is going to be unbelievable at two nights. You got Kalisto. He says this on Twitter. I'm going to read everybody on Twitter. When the announcement was made and Rob Gronk was going to be the host of WrestleMania for two nights, I'm going to read everybody's tweets in regards to this. Kalisto says, good lucha things are coming. Time for the king of parties to party with the Lucha House Party. 2 nights, double the party. Lucha, lucha, lucha. This was WWE telling Kalisto, who means nothing to them, to tweet out to his fan base how excited he is, and he's not even going to be on the show. Roman Reigns, 2 nights of WrestleMania. WWE's biggest event just got bigger. One of those nights belongs to the big dog, who will claim the other. Well, I don't know. Did you see who won the fucking Men's Royal Rumble, you fucking clown? Yes, I'm glad he's already claiming one of the nights. Like there's no fucking agenda, right? Give me a break. Mandy Rose, she puts an A-OK emoji and a prayer emoji. Tucker Knight, 2 nights is better than 1. Congrats, Rob Gronkowski. See you in Orlando for WrestleMania, April 4th and April 5th. Really now? You won't be on the show, Tucky. Dolph Ziggler, second best Patriot to Florida news you'll hear this week. 2+ nights for me to steal the show. Really? Sorry, Dolph, I don't know if you got the memo, bro, but you ain't gonna be on the show. Nor should you be on the show. Drew Gulak. Yeah, because Drew Gulak is going to be on the show, right? Like, he's got any right to tweet out here. Hey, Rob Gronkowski, congratulations on hosting WrestleMania. Can't wait to show you some drills that I've been working on with Daniel Bryan. Sorry, Mr. Gulak, he won't be at WrestleMania either. Nikki Cross, all we want as performers is to make you guys smile and laugh. Too bad, honey, you haven't done that. Neither is your company. We will do our best and we will tell you our stories. What stories? You won't be there to tell any stories. With 2 nights in April, Saturday and Sunday, we can have an unforgettable WrestleMania weekender. There you go. That's what Nikki Cross says. She won't be on the show either. No Way Jose's tweeting out, let's go, 2 nights of the best night of the year. Can't wait to party with Rob Gronk at WrestleMania. Will you even be allowed in the building, Mr. No Way Jose? Probably not. AJ Styles, WrestleMania bigger than before? It's about to be a mother-loving mania weekend. And then he adds Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. He'll be there, but this is WrestleMania weekend, and WWE announced this 2-night thing, and it came from the top. Obviously, AJ's one of the elite there. Push it on social media and show everybody how excited you are. That's exactly what he did. AJ Styles is just another in line, another one of the good soldiers in WWE doing what they are told. That is the majority of the tweets. Then you got guys like Edge. Edge says WWE running WrestleMania is very important. This is what Edge said about WrestleMania this year. This year, more than ever, we are in the midst of something we never experienced before. The world really needs outlets. Whether that is books, whether that is movies, whether that is just being able to try and forget and laugh and have fun and remember what it is to be human. Edge went on to say that the safety of the talent and the crew is the most important thing right now. He and the rest of the crew are determined to put on the show for you and the rest of the world. He added, the entertainment industry has a responsibility to help people relax and forget about their problems. The thing is, WWE is not doing that. The WWE has not even come close to doing that. He says, and I quote, here's how I've always looked at this job. My responsibility is to make you forget about your responsibilities for 2 or 3 hours a day or during that show, Edge said. This is a huge responsibility and it's a privilege. I don't look past it. I didn't have it for 9 years. Now I come back and the gravity of that responsibility is not lost on me. Sure, it's entertainment. Yes, we're jumping around in tights, but a time like this is very, very important. I truly believe that. Now, Edge can basically say whatever he wants in my eyes because if he didn't love what he did, he would have never fought to come back for 9 years. He would have never wanted to go out on his own terms. He would have just given up and stayed at home with the kids and continued doing the Edge and Christian podcast. It's important to him because he fought to have it back in his life for 9 years. And he knew that's where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in the ring. He didn't want to go out on his own terms. Or he didn't want to go out in the way that it was. He wanted to go out on his own terms. He wanted to come back and rewrite the final chapter of his career. And that's exactly what he's getting to do. And if it's important to him to come back, really, if it's important for him to come back and fight for those 9 years, what do you think that says about Edge as far as what he thinks about us? If he didn't give a fuck about us, guys, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. I'm just telling you right now. If Edge didn't give a fuck about, the fans, he wouldn't have come back. So Edge can say anything he wants. Yes, WrestleMania is important. WrestleMania is important. It is very important to the WWE. It's important to the roster. I get it. It's the biggest payday of the year. But out of anybody on that show this year, it is important to him because of the symbolism and of what he's been through the 9 years that he's struggled to come back. This is a culmination of 9 years of wondering if he would ever be back in the ring again. That's why it's important to him. And that's why he went on and said what he said and mixed it in with what the world is going through now. Because he was there. How we're feeling now is how he felt for 9 years. So, Edge says running WrestleMania is very important. Yeah. To him, it's the most important thing in his life. because it's something he fought for 9 years. Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks broke character to issue a heartfelt promise in regards to WrestleMania. She says, and I quote, "It honestly hurts to know that fans, whom a lot of the fans saved their money all year to go to WrestleMania, this year will not be able to attend. The idea of a parent having to tell their child that they won't be able to go breaks my heart. Fans make WrestleMania week, all of the events, access. They aren't just there to watch the show, they're a part of it. But in the end, the world is a scary place right now. And priority number one is everybody's health and safety. So on April 5th, WrestleMania will happen, and we'll do our very best to put on a show worthy of our fans. I wish you were there, but I will perform as if you are all there because it's what you deserve, like a boss." Hashtag WrestleMania. That's somebody who just genuinely loves this business, and I know that first and foremost. She loves everything about this business. And it sucks that she won't even be on the card. You know, she says she's going to perform like a boss, and she's going to perform, and we're going to get a show worthy of WrestleMania for the fans. They're going to do everything in power to do that. Who knows if Sasha Banks is even going to be on the show to be able to have an effort or a part in making this show how it should be for the fans. You know? That's just a woman speaking based off the love she has for the fans and this industry. You know? Yeah, she's a WWE superstar. Yeah, she loves being in the WWE and loves making all the money that she's making. She loves to put smiles on all the little girls' faces, but she loves the business first and foremost. And without the fans, there would be no Sasha Banks. You know? So, it is what it is. Sasha Banks just broke character to tell you exactly how she feels about what she thinks of this business. Booker T. Booker T says WrestleMania should have been postponed. Now, Booker T is a WWE shill. We all know this. But he did have his podcast and spoke on WrestleMania 36 taking place in an empty Performance Center. He says this, and I quote, "WrestleMania, of course, it always has been about the payoff. It's always been what WrestleMania's been about, you know, those great matches, of course. But I always thought that WrestleMania was more so about the event, the spectacle for the crowd. The people to be a part of it, for the fans, and to be a part of this WrestleMania. It's going to be definitely something, man, that I've never thought I'd witness, you know, in my lifetime. Like I said, I always thought that's what WrestleMania was all about. The stars come out, Muhammad Ali, Frank Sinatra, Mr. T, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Tyson, you know. It was always bigger than life. Everyone, not just the fans. The stars want to be a part of WrestleMania, and that's something that's going to be missing. I don't know. Perhaps maybe just move the date and try to ride this thing out, maybe. I don't know, but no, that's what I would do." So WWE then obviously went on to confirm that WrestleMania will be taking place at the Performance Center on April 4th and April 5th. So Booker T is even saying, and he's a WWE shill, and he's defended some of the most stupidest shit in recent weeks. He said it should be postponed. And this is the one week where I can't sit here and say that I disagree with Booker T. I absolutely agree with Booker T. WrestleMania should be postponed. June's wide open. It's none of our business what WWE does. It's none of our business what WWE does as far as their revenue and their money or money lost or insurance policies. It's none of our business. We're looking at it from a fan base looking in. Vince is going to do what is best for Vince McMahon. Vince is going to do what's best for Vince McMahon's pockets. Vince is going to do what's best for the shareholders and Wall Street. He don't give a fuck about the roster. He don't give a fuck where WrestleMania takes place. He just wants to know that WrestleMania and its insurance policy is going back into his pockets. That's all. He couldn't give a single shit. We could sit here and say WrestleMania should be postponed. Will it be postponed? Probably not. The only way it's postponed is if Orlando shuts down and says WrestleMania cannot take place. This is why we're getting a 2-night WrestleMania per the Observer. So WWE can fall in line with the CDC and have 50 max in that venue to have a 2-night WrestleMania, which is shit. Absolutely shit. Ryback. He says Vince McMahon doesn't give a fuck about anyone. I thought this was funny enough to put in the podcast because it's kind of the premise of what I've been talking about here. He doesn't give a shit about anything but himself and his wallet. Ryback actually spoke on this and says this. At the end of the day, and this is just my personal opinion, Vince doesn't give a fuck about anyone except for his bank account. That is me being there and talking to a lot of other people in different generations at different times that have worked there in the WWE. And just personally, seeing how things operate and looking him in the eyes on many occasions and just instinctually knowing that I never want to do anything with this type of human being. Ryback elaborated further, saying, that's it. That's just my opinion. And you could have your feelings on it. This is real life experience. I don't think Vince McMahon cares. And I think he will. He'll pretend that he cares, but I just don't see it. The fact that they haven't seen the other sporting organizations step up and say, we're going to take care of this. We're trying to figure out ways to run everything still. So that should tell you all that you need to know. Ryback left WWE in 2016, and Ryan Reeves parted ways with the company due to a contract dispute. So Ryback cited himself a lack of equal pay for the talent and creative frustration as primary reasons for his departure. He wrote in his personal blog at the time, today I sit and fly home for the first time in years, and I feel absolutely free. I will start by saying I did request to be taken off of WWE television until myself and Vince could get a yes or a no on a new deal. This has been ongoing since my IC title run. So that is what he said, and I just found that to be funny, where I put, all that I said into Vince McMahon and him postponing or not postponing and him moving the show to the PC and maybe possibly postponing it and moving into Madison Square Garden, but will he? Ryback just kind of said exactly what I said. Ryback worked there. He got a firsthand experience about what was going on, and he's seen Vince McMahon operate firsthand in a way where a lot of people never seen him operate. But you just kind of get a feel that, Vince, yes, I could see him being the way Ryback describes, but some part of me says Vince, he's taken the WWE to new heights, and now the fans really aren't his priority. His priority is Wall Street, and his priority is making sure they're happy so that he's happy and his wallets are happy. It's just a shitty situation. When it stopped becoming a product for the fans is when the WWE truly died. And I still love the company because it gives me a platform to talk about what I love, and it gives me a way to potentially break into the business. But at the end of the day, it's like watching something that I just genuinely loved kind of disintegrate right before my very eyes. It's not a company for the people anymore. It's Vince McMahon's company, and it's being run by greed. It's greediness that's killing the company, and it's so shitty to see. It breaks my heart sometimes. It really does. That was Ryback. And as far as the Hall of Fame goes, one of the many reasons why WWE is making all this money on WrestleMania week, the Hall of Fame is a big part of that. It's one of those money-making machines for WWE. They allow the fans to attend. You buy tickets to the Hall of Fame to see everybody get inducted that year. WWE is hoping to do the Hall of Fame ceremony, being that, obviously, it won't be happening at WrestleMania. They're looking to do it SummerSlam weekend. Now, Georgia Smith, the daughter of the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, noted on Twitter that she spoke with WWE and the company is hoping to do it around SummerSlam, which means the ceremony would take place in Boston. She tweeted, just a heads up, I've spoken with WWE and they are postponing the Hall of Fame for a later date and are hoping to do it for SummerSlam, which would be appropriate for my dad, being that SummerSlam 91 in Wembley Stadium against Bret Hart, where he won the Intercontinental Championship, was the best moment of the British Bulldog's career. Thanks again for all your support. Let's all stay safe out there. Obviously, things could change. SummerSlam weekend seems like the best idea on the table right now for the Hall of Fame, and I have absolutely no issue for that. And that is all I got on WrestleMania, guys. What do I want to have happen? I would rather a postponement. We just don't know what the insurance policy details or entails. And WWE has to do what is right, man. WWE has to go into this and try their best to really make this and salvage what is left of WrestleMania. It cannot take place in an empty arena on 2 nights. They got to follow the formula that AEW did. And if June is open, like I had done my research on, and they could postpone it and move it into Madison Square Garden to salvage whatever is left of this WrestleMania season, I think everybody would be okay with that. You can continue new storylines, and it's not going to be like a situation where the new storylines are going to overtake the old storylines. It's only going to be a month. It's going to be a month. You don't have to do anything for the month of April. Really, be creative with it. You don't got to build any. As soon as May comes, start building towards the May pay-per-view, which is Money in the Bank, and then do June and have WrestleMania take place in June. I seriously hope that's the situation. WWE is not going to do it for their own reasons, but as far as this WrestleMania goes, I am not excited about anything, man. I'm really not. And the show needs to be those 8 matches, and that is it. If I see anything else added to this show, I'm going off. I'm disappointed in the company now. If they add any more matches, I will further be disappointed in the WWE. I will be disappointed even greater in what they've done. They've handled this entire situation just miserably. And they have nobody to blame but themselves here as far as what they've done in the aftermath. Obviously, it's not their fault on what happened with WrestleMania, but in the aftermath, they have taken the steps and made everything 1,000 times worse than what it really is. Hopefully they can fix it. Tonight on SmackDown, we'll find out. We'll find out more on the 2 nights, and we'll see if they learn their fucking lesson coming from last Friday SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, and then hopefully watching AEW and what they did. Maybe we'll get a decent show on SmackDown tonight. Guys, I'm getting out of here. If you enjoy the podcast, let me know what you think down below. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Ridge.com/script. Code SCRIPT at checkout for 10% off. If you missed any of the other videos on the channel, links are down below in the description of this very video. And I will see you guys right back here on Saturday for part 2 of Off the Script, episode 318. We'll go over the week in review of WWE. Until then, guys, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys on Saturday for part 2 of OTS. See you then.